Hi everyone, and welcome to the RA Group Daily Webcast. Every weekday at 3:30, we host a daily webcast where our panel of experts discuss a wide range of topics to help you survive and thrive during the lockdown. On Monday, we have another of our Future of Hospitality series, the future of health and wellbeing in the workplace, with a panel of experts that will be led by Luxie, our senior nutritionist and expert in all things wellness. Today, though, we have our wine and service trainer, Steph Robertson, who will be showing us how to taste wine like a pro, along with her supermarket wine picks of the week. Please do send through your wine-related questions.
Hi, guys. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here with us. Now, first of all, do you have a glass of wine in front of you? I know I do. So what you want to do is, if you want to follow along, it's sort of like a swirl along, I guess, this week. So you just want a small amount of wine, nothing too much, otherwise you'll get sloshy. So go grab your wine and carry on listening. Now, if you have been around wine geeks like myself, maybe, there are phrases that are always dropped in, like let it breathe or long legs, all that kind of stuff. Once you get past all of that jargon, you'll have a better understanding of the different grapes and what you like, why you like it, and what you could like based on those past facts as well. And most importantly, tasting wine will then bring you pleasure. Yay! Drinking wine is like listening to music. There are many styles, soft notes, loud notes, good and bad taints even, but ultimately it is all down to personal taste. Like most things, the ability to taste wine is actually developing your palate, or wine vocab, as I like to call it. And that's all through practice. Some people I know are sort of super tasters, I guess. I mean, I use that term quite loosely, but some people like myself have had to learn the vocab and learn how to actually train your palate into tasting certain flavors. And by doing that, you just literally have to practice. And the great thing about practicing learning how to taste wine is you kind of get to drink it at the same time. So that's cool. What you will need, though, if you do want to take it a bit more seriously, is a little notebook or a piece of paper and a pen. So you can just jot down a few little notes. Now, when you are tasting, there is sort of a systematic way that you can taste. And the one that I really do like to use is the WSET, so the Wine and Spirit Education Trust, their level 2 systematic approach to tasting wine, which is really awesome because it takes you through the appearance, it takes you through the nose, through the palate, and then down to the conclusion as well. So if you can check that out, it's just up here on the screen. So you can just see how each one is just slightly broken down into a few different bits and bobs there as well. But it's a really, really great way, if you don't know how to taste just yet, to follow it through. And it's just like it says in the title, it's systematic. So it's great. Yeah.
Steph, where could people get a hold of this? Is it available online?
It is available online. So it's available on the WSET website. So if you just Google WSET, then you can go through to their website and you'll be able to find it in there. It's actually a two-sided document. So you've got the systematic approach to wine tasting on the one, and then if you pop it around on the other side, it's actually got some of the flavor profiles. So if you're not used to picking out those flavors, it's a really handy guide just to have a look at what you can do. So shall we get started? I'm pretty sure everybody's managed to grab a glass of wine in the last 4 minutes. Hopefully. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to actually have a look at the wine. So when you look at the wine, you almost just want a piece of white paper, so you can just sort of lean it over and have a look directly down. So you want it at a sort of a 45-degree angle like that. So you'll be able to see straight down from the top. And then you can see there's a nice, I know my one, I chose a red wine because it's a little bit easier for you to see what's in my glass than a white wine for today. Also, I really like red wine. So my one, I can see there's a nice sort of paler one, sort of rim around it there, which I can see is a little bit brown, but then going in deeper, I can see a little bit of a ruby color, but it's not like dense. So like if you were looking at a port, you wouldn't be able to see straight through it. A white wine, you can see straight through it, obviously, because of the color. But it's just really good to have a look at what the color is, because that can give you an indication on how old the wine is, if it's been aged in oak even, and also by giving it that little swirl, you can see the legs down there as well. You're also checking if it's clear, because if it's cloudy or if there's any sediment in it, you may need to redecant it or give it a little bit of a strain.
Steph, people are always talking about the legs. Can you just explain what that is for people that don't know?
Yes, so the legs in the wine, so when you swirl it, you let it go, what you can see is there's these beautiful legs that just sort of run down. I mean, this one you can't see too much if I put it in, but I guess you kind of know what I'm talking about. If you do it with a spirit, you get bigger legs. So it's sort of the alcohol content that you can see sort of clinging to the side of the glass. It's actually quite elegant, like long, beautiful legs. Now, after you've sort of had that initial look at the wine, you do want to swirl it, like if we're looking for legs, or also because we want to sort of get the aromas going in the glass. Now, this is a tricky one. You don't want to be that person at the party that's, gives it like a massive big swirl and gets it all down themselves, like I did at my wedding in Australia, all the way down my wedding dress.
Oh my goodness.
You don't want to be that person. So that's why when you do swirl, you want to be wary of how much is in your glass. But also, if you don't have the motion in your wrist just yet, what you can do is if you pop your glass down directly on the table and then, just do the same motion, but on the table, just like that, because then you get that sort of, it's muscle memory. So you're training your muscle to do it. And then slowly but surely, you can sort of come pick it up and get a nice little swirl going. Now, one tip I have come up with so I'm left-handed, so I'll always swirl clockwise. But if you're right-handed, you should swirl anti-clockwise, just because it's the more natural movement of your wrist to do this, to sort of go inwards rather than like that way. It's a bit awkward. So you can have a play, but I really find that, having that sort of clockwise if it's in your left hand and anti-clockwise if it's in your right hand really does help. What do you guys think? Does that help at all, or?
I think that's the difference. It's great. Steph, one quick question I had. Does the glass affect the wine tasting process? You seem to have quite a nice one there. What do you recommend for us novices?
Well, a wine glass does have a lot of difference to the taste. I mean, it's all about how the wine enters your mouth and where it hits. So Riedel, I know, has got a plethora of different kinds of glasses for different types of grape varieties. So the one that I've got is one of their Riedel ones, but this is actually their Riesling glass. So technically I should have Riesling in it, but I've got red wine. So this one I enjoy drinking out of because it gives a nice swirl to it. What you don't want is something sort of thick glass or anything like that, because how it sort of enters your mouth, it doesn't hit your palate or your taste buds in the same way.
Steph, we've got a question from Dan here. So when it comes to decanting, how long do you need to leave the wine for?
That is a good question, Daniel. So it really depends on the actual wine, on what, how tight the wine is per se, or what you're trying to, soften it up. So I know if it's, say, a screw cap, I know Australia does a lot of screw cap red wines that are actually quite high up on the price bracket, and you can age. As soon as you open them, there is like this weird sort of screw cap stink. So what you'll want to do with those is sort of just decant them quickly, just to get a bit of an aeration. By quickly, I mean decant it nicely and then sort of swirl it around in the decanter a little bit, but let it sit for maybe 15 minutes rather than half an hour. Some other wines, some other sort of top quality Bordeaux that are sort of, feeling a bit closed, you can leave them for an hour, even hour and 20, because the oxidization process won't happen like that. It'll happen over a longer process, but a little bit of oxygen is actually good for the wine. Yeah. Cool. Well, shall we go into the smelling then? Now we've swirled. Now we're all experts and professionals at swirling. So what you want to do is there's a lot of different ways of actually smelling your wine. So I know for me, I put my nose in, but then I lean the glass slightly to the left because that's where I find personally the better flavor. So what I will recommend for people who aren't so used to it is put your nose right in to the glass. Also, you don't want to tip the glass too much, otherwise you're going to get a face full of wine. Not healthy. And also you don't want your nose too close to the wine because when you breathe in, it may go up. Also not good.
We've all been there.
So what you do want to do is stick your nose right in the glass there and then just bring it up slightly, a little bit away. And as you're doing that, keep smelling and you will see where you can find the best sort of flavors in your wine. So I know, for me, it's right in here. So I can smell like all of the lovely wild raspberries, a little bit of like a black currant in there. A nice little bit of oak as well. But that's just me. So if it's a white wine, you'll have something different.
Just a quick question, Steph. What's sorry, Son. What's the thing to do with having a cold and not being able to taste wine properly? What's the link there with your nose?
Well, so it'll be like, well, your nose and your palate are very interlinked. So as you know, when you have a cold and your nose is all blocked, you won't be able to taste a thing. So if a wine is too cold, when you're smelling it, it will dampen down those flavors because essentially it's molecules. And when something's colder, the molecules don't resonate at the high, at like a bigger frequency, I guess. Now I'm getting far too technical. At a higher frequency, so you're not getting that real lovely sort of, they're coming up at you. It's a little bit of a harder process of trying to get those flavors up and out. And then when it's in your mouth, the cold, it's like when you taste Coke. If you taste it super cold, you won't taste the sugar. But if you taste it warm, room temperature, it's literally all just sugar. And you can really taste it. So I guess, it really depends on your style of wine, I guess. So, yeah.
And
yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, Gavin's just sent a stonker of a question. And so I just thought I'd throw it at you, Steph. What's the most memorable glass of wine you've tasted in your life?
Thank you, Gavin, for your lovely question. That is like trying to pick like your favorite, I don't know, chocolate. It's hard, that one. My most memorable glass of wine. Okay,
is it the one you spilled all down your wedding dress?
Well, that was a nice bottle, but no, I don't want to do so for my 21st birthday, my best mate actually got me this lovely bottle of wine. Lovely. It was a bit funny. In her speech at my 21st birthday, she said that Stephanie's like a bottle of Tussies, which is this wine in South Africa that comes from the bottom of all the barrels. So it could be a really nice wine or it could be a lesser wine, but it's everybody, all of the wine producers sell it to Tussenbergs. So she said, Stephanie's like a bottle of Tussies. If you drink a little bit, she's great fun. If you drink too much, it's a bit of a headache. So pretty funny. And I just remember drinking that bottle with her at my family home in South Africa. So not really like the best wine in the world, but a memorable bottle for sure.
That's really nice.
Yeah, so how are we feeling about the smell, about the nose, I should say, if we're going to be using a little bit of wine jargon? So what you are looking for is sort of a bright, clean wine. If it's not clean, you will kind of know about it because it'll be musty, wet dog, wet cardboard. So you will kind of feel it if there's a fault.
Gavin's also asking, Steph, why do some wines taste furry?
Furry.
Don't know about Gavin's
what he means by that.
I'm not sure what kind of wine you're tasting, Gavin. No, but I know what you mean. It's sort of like that spritz, that effervescent kind of feel. And that's just like a little bit of, I guess, the not CO2, but it's almost like you can see it in the glass. It's just sort of like little bubbles, and it can sort of sparkle on your tongue there a little bit. So I wouldn't quite say furry, sort of like not fuzzy, sparkly. Gently sparkly.
With that in mind, Steph, are there things we can look out for at this stage before we've even tasted it, that gives it away as being off or corked or anything like that?
Yes, definitely. So if you do have sort of a cork taint in your wine, it will be that wet dog, it will be that wet cardboard, that real sort of musty cellar, like really quite unpleasant. It's something that you don't expect in the wine. If there's been a fault in it where you've had maybe some oxygen, or you have opened the bottle and you've left it for a few days, you do have that oxidization flavor, which if it's a wine and if it's a white wine and it tastes like sherry, or if it's a red wine and it starts tasting a bit like port, that's that kind of like weird sort of smell you don't want.
Steph, we've got another question here from Dan, or Daniel, sorry, I keep abbreviating your name, but how much do you normally spend on a bottle of wine? Does a higher price always lead to a better drink?
That's actually a great question, Daniel. So a higher price doesn't always lead to a better drink per se. I regularly buy, as you'll find out maybe a little later, that I really like the wines from Lidl. So I'm happy to spend, sub £10, but you do have to sort of really be picky about what you are buying, and just have a thought in your head of what you're buying, because quality versus price is a big sort of conversation that is had with wine buyers, for definite. But also in the same sentence, you can buy better wines at home because you're not paying those restaurant prices. So I mean, that's always great if you do want to treat yourself to sort of that £15-20 bottle of wine. It will be a nice drop. Cool. All right, so now shall we actually try and drink some now? Shall we give it a go?
Yes, please.
So now that I've tortured you for 20 minutes without drinking, you may drink. So now what you want to do is you want to put some wine in your mouth. You don't want like a massive mouthful. You just want it as much as you can fit in. No. Let me show you. You want as much as that, so you can sort of slurp the wine. And by slurping the wine is that sort of breathing in, sort of sucking in. It's really not cool. It doesn't sound great. And when a whole lot of wine people get together, it's not pretty. So you're sort of drawing the air in because it's coating the wine around your mouth, all to the different flavor profiles on your tongue, as we spoke about in the previous one. And that's kind of what you want to be doing. And then, there is a huge thing around whether you should spit the wine out or if you can swallow it, because when you do swallow it, you do get a better feel for the alcohol because it will hit you a little bit further down on your back palate. But at the same time, if you are in work, like I often taste quite a few wines during work hours, you don't want to be swallowing all the wine because that can lead to disastrous effects if you're tasting about 50 wines. So that's when you would spit. But what you are looking for is those lovely flavor profiles, and some of them may actually mirror what you smell, because obviously, like I explained, your palate is linked to your nose. So what you smell and what you taste can be very mirrored, but what you do get on the palate is the acidity, the tannins. So the acidity will make your mouth water. The tannins will dry out your gums, so you sort of feel like, you wake up really dry mouthed. And also the heat of the alcohol, you'll be able to feel it in your mouth too. So what you're looking for is really bright, fresh, clean, nothing too jammy, nothing too weird. Once again, mirroring that sort of cork taint. You want something that's really clean and not funky. Cool.
We've got some more questions here, Steph.
Brilliant.
So Tamas is asking, what's the best producing wine region? And you're not allowed to say, oh my gosh, I can't pronounce this. Stellenbosch?
Sonia, you're getting better with your South African words. The best wine producing region. Oh, that's really hard. I mean, I can't say what the best wine producing region is sort of around the world that everybody is sort of in love with. One of my favorites is McLaren Vale down in Australia. But that could mean, you know, I'm a little bit biased. I really do like that part of the world. And getting married down there did help. So they've just got such a wide variety that they can do. They're doing these great things with Italian grape varieties, softer wines instead of these really big, you know, those massive Aussie Shirazes and Chardonnays. So it's a little bit of an easier one.
Awesome. We've also got so Sean. I think Sean's trying to make a funny joke here, Steph. But why does the wine taste different after your second bottle?
So after your second bottle, well, obviously the alcohol intake does sort of change your perception on things slightly. Your palate also does start to get a little bit tired. So you're not tasting the same things. But funnily enough, it's also bottle variation. So the second bottle, if it's the same wine, could have been kept slightly differently in the cellar, or it could, you know, have a different cork in it from a different tree. So there's lots of different things that could mean your second bottle tastes a little different. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt there, Sean.
Presumably, if you drink it through a straw, it's the same thing, I guess. So.
We've got another one here from Daniel. Prosecco or champagne?
Oh, champagne. I'm a champagne girl. I mean, I'm not opposed to Prosecco at all. I will drink it. But if I had the choice, champagne for sure. Cool. And then what you'd want to do after you've sort of made your flavor profile on the palate, you do want to go through and do your conclusion as well. So you just want to write down if it was clean, clear, good value for money, if you know how much it was. If you enjoyed it, that's the most important thing, because wine is all about what you enjoy. Like, I'm not a massive fan of Sauvignon Blancs, so I don't tend to drink them at home. I can taste them and make, you know, an objective view, but it really is super important to learn what you like personally. And that's what wine is all about, I think. It's a great joy.
Steph, I've got a quick question. People often talk about the length or finish on a wine. Can you just enlighten us a little bit about that? And having a longer finish can mean better quality. Is that something you agree with, or not?
Having a longer finish, yes, I would agree, because then it means, you know, it's got a really nice balance and, you know, the flavors are good and out there. If it's too long, it can sort of taint other flavors if you're trying to eat some food. It could skew a couple of things. But so the length is about, once you've got the wine in your mouth and you've swallowed it or spat it, it's just about how long you taste the flavors. Like, I can still taste the wonderful slight vanilla flavor in this wine. So it's lingering in my mouth, and it's a pleasant linger. Sometimes it can be an unpleasant linger, like maybe cat's wee on gooseberry bush. I don't know. Yeah. Yep, Sauvignon Blanc, James.
Probably shouldn't tell you what I'm drinking then, should I?
I already know it. So then that's a really, really quick sort of overview on how you taste wine, which I think everybody can do. You can translate it across to sort of beers and stuff. Maybe the slurping is a bit harder. Don't do that with spirits. If you are tasting spirits, that's just going to kill your palate and all of that. But no, super, super fun. I love it.
We've got a question here from Anonymous, Steph. Is it better to decant than to drink straight from the bottle?
Once again, I think it does depend slightly on the wine. You can decant. I mean, you can even decant champagnes. obviously decant the champagne straight away, drink it. Don't leave it because then all the bubbles will disappear. But yeah, I love decanting because it does make me feel fancy, and it's a little bit of a ceremony around it, kind of like when you make matcha tea or something like that. So you've got that ceremonial part behind it too. Yeah. Cool. Shall we go on to my favorite bit of the week, which is my supermarket wine picks? So this week I've chosen them all from Lidl, because Lidl is, I think personally, the best supermarket wines out there. I love how they buy wines, and their master of wine is pretty incredible. So today I have 3, a sparkling, a white and a red. So for the sparkling today, we've got the Cremant de Loire at $7.99, which is made in the traditional champagne method, but mainly with Chenin Blanc because it's from the Loire. So it's a stunning alternative to the sweetness of Prosecco because it's slightly drier. It's a soft, fruity and citrusy. It's perfect by itself or with a light fish dish. I mean, I drank quite a few of these when I was in the south of France last year. It seems like a world away now. And then next, I've done a little bit of a different one. So a lovely little Albarino from Spain. The price, $5.99, is stunning. And this is an exciting dry wine, perfect for sipping in the sun that I believe we're getting on Sunday. It's textured, lemony, citrusy, and with a lovely balance. My favorite thing around it is that it's not too sharp. It doesn't have that real acidic bite. And then last but not least is probably one of my favorite wines from Lidl. So don't let the £4.29 price fool you.
Wow.
Is the Montepulciano. I mean, come on, that's pretty good price, right? So it's soft, juicy, loads of red fruits, making for a smooth and easy drink. And this one is so versatile, as it's perfect from pizza to tomato-based pasta to roast veg. So if you are hitting a Lidl this weekend, those ones would be my pick.
Steph, we've got a couple more questions, if that's okay.
Of course.
So Lily has come back after you said that you preferred champagne to Prosecco, and she's asking if you prefer it because of the difference in sugar.
Yes, I mean, simply put, yes, that's I prefer it because I can't feel the sugar as much, but also I prefer the way the traditional champagne method sort of gives that real toasty brioche flavor to champagnes over Prosecco, where the second fermentation happens in a big tank. So you don't have that sort of on the lees, that real lovely earthiness.
Awesome. We've also got a question from Dirk. What's the best way to store your red wine once you've opened it?
Okay, well, for me, I have one of those cool little Le Creuset pumps that sort of creates a vacuum in the wine bottle. I would say 100% spend like the 15, 20 quid, whatever it is on it, because it is so good for your wine. It can keep your wine for like 3, 4, 5 days. But if you don't have one of those, you know, even cork back in, pop it in the fridge to really keep it cool. And then obviously take it out and bring it up to room temperature. But there is nothing wrong with drinking sort of slightly cooler red wine in the first place. So.
Awesome. Steph, quick question as well. If we're buying wine to keep for a bit longer, say we buy kind of 4 or 5 bottles or something that we like, how long should we be keeping red wine and white wine? And are there any resources, tips to kind of find out how long they should be kept and stored for?
Perfect. So when a winemaker makes wine, he or she, I should say, makes it in a way that it can either be drunk right now or can be aged. So when you are looking at aging some wines, you do need to do a little bit of research into the actual wine, and if there is a longevity in it to be able to age. So what you need is, just do a little bit of research. But I'd say red wines typically are a little bit easier to age than white wines. Not saying that no white wines age, because I know I drank a Burgundy a few years back that was from 1942. So white wines can definitely age, but they just need to be made in a way that can, because what you want is that balance between the acid, the alcohol, and the fruit. So when you do taste it when it's younger, you need to sort of project what you think and how you think it will change in the future.
Great,
awesome.
Thanks.
Steph, thank you so much for today. That's been super interesting. Love it. Cool. So that's all from us today, guys. Thank you again, Steph. That was super cool. I've learnt so much. We hope you'll join us on Monday for the Future of Hospitality series, the future of health and wellbeing in the workplace. Meanwhile, for more information about our programme or discussions, please go to RA Group's website, www.ragroup.co.uk/news, to download all of the broadcast links. Meanwhile, if you have any questions or suggestions and want to get involved, email gavin.goody@ragroup.co.uk. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Have an awesome weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Take care.